This is going to be a hip thrust. I've been using this movement more and more as a precursor to squatting because it's a little safer on the knees and the hip and it's a little less painful. So edge of a couch, anything at home that they can lie back on. One tip for people when they use a weight bench is that, some people will get a little too low and they feel like they're kind of sliding off. I feel like the bottom edge of my scapula or shoulder blade is what kind of catches the edge of this surface, which anchors me to it. Now you can go arms out wide or arms across your chest. I tend to go more arms across my chest, but some people like this a little more, and that's okay. Now I want my hips and knees and feet to be kind of in a line, so I don't want my feet to be wider than my hips. Typically, unless pain is a reason I do that, I try and have a nice straight line on my legs, right? And as my butt drops down, my head and chest will come forward, right? And then as I drive up, I drive through my heels, and I tend to look at my stomach to make sure that I'm finishing the hip extension. I don't want to finish here, right? I want to get all the way into the end of my hip extension, but I want it to stop at my hip and not go to my back. So as I look at my stomach and I kind of tense this a little bit, it protects my back from going into this arch, which is something I tend to try and avoid with most of my lifts, right? So once again, I come down, I look at their feet to make sure that the weight is on their heels. Sometimes I'll see people lifting their heels and pushing on their toes. So really try and cue them to keep the weight on the heels. As the hips drive up, I'll look at my stomach. I try to make sure I finish all the way to the top of that hip extension and feel that glute engage. And then I come back down slow. I will play around with the amount of knee bend. So if I have someone that I'm trying to get them into a deeper knee bend, I may play around with bringing them a little bit closer. So at the bottom of this, you can see I'm really in a deep amount of knee flexion, which sometimes is useful for that person that's kind of stiff. And with the weight more on the heels, they're a little less pain in the knee, if knee pain is part of their issue, right? Same thing as I drive up. Now you see my legs are tucked in so tight that I have to have enough ankle mobility to keep my heels on the ground. So if my ankles are real stiff, I may start coming up like this, which I don't want. So I do have to keep my heels pasted to the ground. And like for me now, I feel even a little bit of stretch in the back of my calf, right? So you can play around with the amount of knee bend that someone goes into as you're going through this.